Hello. Today I am refuting the claim that Orange County officials are mismanaging the homeless problem in their jurisdiction and exacerbating the problem. The claims that were made by my opponent are that the projects enacted by the officials with the purpose of helping remedy the situation instead further displace homeless. Number two, existing facilities to assist or otherwise house the homeless are inadequate, ill-equipped, and small in size. And number three, that the consequence of the homeless are deadly, I am doing a counterclaim, and my counterclaim is that Orange County officials are not mismanaging the homeless population in their jurisdiction. I'm going to prove this by showing how there was proper notification given before the start of the project that is stated within the first claim. Adequate resources are being provided to the homeless, and the deaths in the homeless population are not due to county mismanagement. So going on to my response for the first claim, which focuses on the project where there's a 6-foot fence being built to hold flood preparation. The county gave proper notification to the homeless population prior to the start of the project. This project was originally planned for last year, but was postponed, allowing the homeless living in the area to find another place to settle, which was a chance not taken by them. The original claim also mentioned a lawsuit with the American Civil Liberties Union, or the ACLU, which left out some crucial points that make it seem more drastic. It claimed that the 6-foot fence was imprisoning the homeless, but per the KPCC stated that the lawsuit showed that the ACLU argued that people living in the area were effectively being imprisoned, so they felt like they were being imprisoned, not that they were actually forced to stay within the fence. The lawsuit has since been settled, allowing the homeless access to the area for an additional week and allowed free transportation to their belongings that had been seized during that problem. So they're helping. They want to be able to get these homeless to other places because the 6-foot fence and what they're doing with it is putting the flood preparation in, which is for everyone else. It's for flood preparation. So the second claim was based on facilities to assist or otherwise house the homeless. The Orange County is providing adequate resources and managing the homeless population. Other than just the 2 shelters that my opponent stated in the original claim, there are plenty of transitional shelters for the motivated homeless wanting to get out of their current situation. And from the exact article that my opponent used, within the Orange County Register in 2016, states that their stepped up efforts are also underway to place the chronically homeless with mental and physical disabilities into supportive housing and provide more rapid rehousing for those capable of reestablishing their lives. Another post from the Orange County Register states that Orange County bought the warehouse that is going to be used for the new homeless shelter for $4.25 million. They're not just going to throw away money. They are trying to help the homeless, and that's a lot of money being spent on one place for them. The county also brought in a well-regarded expert to oversee homeless services and work with the community members on fixing the problems. And that was in the Voice of OC of 2016. My third claim response, and this was on the consequence to the homeless are deadly. The deaths in the homeless population are not due to county mismanagement. It is true that there have been increases, and I saw this on a chart through the Orange County Register. But over the years, the increases are about 1% each year, which isn't a lot. This isn't like a drastic 5%, 6% every year. The Voice of OC in late 2016 stated the increase of deaths in the homeless population of Orange County is due to the growing epidemic of drug overdose. The same article stated that homeless population has actually decreased over the past decade by 50%. In conclusion, it is true that being homeless is devastating, and you wouldn't have a heart if you didn't feel bad for them and their position. But the county is doing their part in trying to keep them safe and indoors to their best ability. The county has given proper notice and advance notice to those being affected by the storage of the flood preparation. They provide shelters and transition homes for the homeless and are continuing to focus on the health of the homeless. And finally, they are not directly responsible for the deaths of the homeless. Thank you.
All right, so the claims are laid out clearly. There's a good preview. You're basically taking counter positions on a lot of these points. I do think that you might want to respond a little bit more to the evidence that the advocate used and talk about whether or not their reasoning process is valid. I did like the idea, though, that you went directly to some of the counterclaims that are going on. On that first point, for instance, the notion that there was long-term notification, it was postponed for the purpose of the people who were homeless in those places in the first place to be able to relocate, and that they simply didn't take the advantage of the opportunity. The criticism of the ACLU's description of what was going on, I thought was an interesting point. Look, they're effectively imprisoned. That's the ACLU talking about, oh, we put up a fence so people feel like they're in prison, as opposed to we put up a fence so that we can get started on our project. And the notion that it's all been resolved already, I think, is a good point. Look, there's been a resolution. The homeless who were there have access to the material that they needed. They've been given transportation to get out of the places that they're located on. This is not an accurate description of what is going on, and I think that's the way you want to challenge that point, is say, don't be shy about saying they have not accurately described what went on. That's really what the counterclaim on this particular point is. On the second point, you do have a very specific counterclaim talking about, look, there are a variety of opportunities for the homeless to get assistance here. You mentioned that you acknowledged the two shelters that they cited, but you then make a claim about additional transitional housing. And that was a little vague, but at least there is some information there to tend to support it. You cite the source that the advocate cites. I assume it is probably in the same article, because let's face it, the OC Register is publishing everything every day. So the fact that they had something, it's not the same source. If it's the same article, for instance, that would make it, I think, a little bit more persuasive in nature. Yeah, that's what I thought you were saying. It's not just coming from the same source, but it's from the same article that's being cited there. And here's an example of how much money that they're spending. I also thought that in that last point, when you had some information about the decline in the number of homeless, that might have been something that would have worked better on this second point here, because the question then becomes, is there in fact an adequate amount of resources being devoted to this? Well, we're devoting huge amounts of resources despite the fact that the homeless population is going down. I think that would be a good juxtaposition of the evidence that you've got on that particular point. And then on the third point, where you're talking about the deaths, and you basically are challenging the causality. The advocate's saying it's we have an increase in the number of deaths, and they're kind of attributing it to this correlation about either spending or this activity that's going on. And you've basically got a counterclaim that says, look, we have an epidemic of drug use that's going on here. It's gotten worse. And if there was some way to quantify what the number of deaths among the homeless were due to overdose, that would help your point a little bit more. But you've got a good general press on this when it comes to causality. So I thought that was pretty effective. All right, thank you.